Thank you for tuning in to WBGR World Network. Thank you for tuning in to WBGR World Network.
Live? Wow, we live. Welcome to Q's on the Move. This is a weekly podcast highlighting youth programs by men of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. My guests tonight are Brother Namdi and Brother Bird, I would say. You know, they are both members of Lambda Gamma chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, and they are both mentors of the Manhood One-on-One program. So, brothers, tell me, I'm going to start with you on my left. Tell me a little bit about yourself, college-wise, life, anything you want to indulge in.
Oh, man. So, as he stated, my name is Namdi. Been a native of Washington, D.C., so, I bleed D.C. Originally, I'm Nigerian. I was born in Nigeria. I came in when I was 5, so... proud immigrant, matriculated through the DC public school system, elementary school, junior high school, went away from college, went to Norfolk State University, the mighty Spartans, behold, the green and gold for all my Spartaneers out there. Live in DC and been a part of the program for, 4 years now?
The Manhood One-on-One program is going on its 6th year.
Man,
time flies, man.
Yeah, it's been a journey because I think it's been exciting just working with these young boys, especially when the thing about us is everybody has something that we bring to the table, whether it's your diverse background, whether it's what you do for work, you can share that with them and kind of just express to them the type of avenues that they can take to become successful in their own journey and own right. So. It's been a pleasure working with these gentlemen to my right, and it's a lot more. We got a lot more in store for them, though. It's gonna be a heck of a time. We're gonna have a good time with them.
We're definitely gonna get into that as we get into this conversation. Brother Bird, tell me about yourself, brother. Where you from? High school, college, man. You might have a little life story for me here.
I don't know if it's that much of a life story. Again, my name is Deontay Bird. Was born and raised in Northwest Washington, D.C. Oldest of 5. Unlike my line brother over here, I didn't go to DC public schools. My parents shipped me out, man, and sent me away to Maryland schools where they thought I would have a better learning environment. But I was blessed to be the first person in my immediate family to go to college, just based on the sacrifices that my parents made. I too attended Norfolk State University. Where I studied both optical engineering and electronics technology. I worked for the Department of Homeland Security for a number of years on ICE and FEMA contracts. I now work for St. Mary's County Police Department as an RF engineer. And all of the personal successes that I've been able to attain are just because of the opportunities that I was provided by my parents. And other pillars in my community. So that's one of the main reasons why I got involved with the program, to give back as much as I can.
Great. And actually, I was going to ask you, how did you get involved with the Manhood One-on-One program? And more importantly, why did you get involved with this program?
So I'll start with the latter of the two questions. Why did I get involved with the program? Honestly, it was probably based on the example that my parents set. Growing up in Washington, D.C., my mom always had that, giving spirit. So I remember growing up, my mom would, even like on our Sunday meals, she would prepare meals, and she just had it in her heart, like, we have more than enough food. And she would literally drive around DC herself and go feed the homeless, right? And that's how I first got, exposed to giving back, especially to those less fortunate than myself. My dad exposed me to some of the teachings of great African American minds, from the Malcolm X, the Marcus Garveys, Martin Luther Kings. And in one of Malcolm X's speeches, one of the things that always stuck with me, he said is, blacks in America, we love to measure our personal success by material objects that we attain. And our personal success really should be measured on how much we give back. That we don't really achieve personal success until we make sure that the people that look like us reach that same level of success. So my parents exposing me to those type of teachings and leading by example is probably how I got that in my spirit to give back to those less fortunate than myself. And with the Manhood 101 program, I just stood on the shoulders of bros that came before me. They've been involved in programs like this long before I was initiated into the fraternity. So with Brother Gorman Brown, the principal at Charles Herbert Flowers High School, he implemented the program with your assistance about 6 years ago, and I just stood on the shoulders of some great bros to offer any type of guidance that I could.
I'm going to ask you the same question, brother. How did you get involved with Manhood 101, and why?
So my story shares a lot of similarity with Brother Bird. I think we both come from, a household where, education and discipline was, was imperative. It was a part of my upbringing. I'm one of five, so I was number four. So my mom, raised 5 kids on her own, working at McDonald's, making $5 an hour in a 3-bedroom apartment. So, when you come from, a scenario where education was the only thing that mattered in the household, because, she made sure that we all went to school, we all, we applied ourselves, and that was something that was important to her. So that was something that became institutionalized in our household. Right. It became something that was embedded in the fabric of who we were. Sure. So as I got older, those were some of the principles I took with me. Mentor and I've been doing for a while, actually. I been doing this since high school. I was involved with the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute, which was founded and chartered by the former Mayor, Marion Barry, which was one of his greatest achievements, because it put a lot of young kids to work during the summer program. So I was a part of that program. I used to tutor at my church. So, I had the experience of working with kids and helping them with their homework from that age. So, it was a gratifying experience, and it was something I took with me. It was something I wanted to instill in the next, 14, 15, 16-year-old that was coming right behind us. And I thought that it was imperative for us to not only make sure that we were showing them some of the things that we felt that were necessarily in 2018 world, America of 2018, but we felt that it was very necessary that they express themselves from a social aspect within their own peers and the boys that look like them. And I think that was something that was really important. So, and we realized, and just like Brother Bird said, I think once you guys set that foundation, all we had to do was just come in, kind of just basically just take advantage of the opportunity to just make sure that what we learned, that we're passing it on to them. So that was my path into Manhood 101.
If you could, what are some of the topics of discussion, if you could share with the our listeners?
Good stuff. I don't know, we kind of giving out some of our secrets, but that's what brings me back every Wednesday, is because each topic is different. But it's because we're engaging with these young boys. We're interacting with them. It becomes a collaborative project where we're sharing. So it's not just us just talking about different things with them and they're just listening. It's not more of a classroom setting. It's a interactive project. So we talk about things from career building. We talk about things from, on-the-job training. We talk about, social issues that affect their community, like voting and a lot of things that we're talking about has had to deal with injustice, at least from their perspective, and some of the things that have affected them in their community in terms of unarmed African American boys that are being gunned down, and how they feel about that, because that's important. At that age, you need to know how to react to things like that, because I think that paves the way to not only how they conduct themselves in situations like that, but how they educate the people around them to conduct themselves. So we talk about especially grades. So we talk about that's one of because one thing we focus on. We have fun. We discuss everything. We talk about everything within the social atmosphere. But we want to make sure that not only are they focused on schoolwork, but we're helping them achieve some of those goals that they set up for themselves in the beginning of the school year. So if there's any discrepancies with their grade, any challenges, we try to find ways to mitigate that, so that way they can overcome that and start thinking about their future goals. So what we talk about vary. I mean, those are some of the things that we talk about. If there's anything else that's on their mind, sometimes we'll share that.
Sure.
Maybe sometimes it's on a personal level, one-on-one. But so we just don't do it in a group. Sometimes we do one-on-one mentoring. So, but that's just an iceberg. I'm sure Brother Bird has list of. We also do, Black History Month. We have Black History Jeopardy. So it turns into an educational session a lot of times.
Yeah, Brother Bird, what are some of the takeaways that the boys should take from this program each week, or overall? What are some of the takeaways that you feel?
Oh, awesome question, man. So with each session, like Brother Namdi was saying, each session is different, right? So we're not your typical mentoring program. It's not like we just come in there and like, oh, we're going to teach you how to stand up straight and shake hands firmly and tie a tie. Even though those are things that we address, but like we said, it's more of an engaging. More of an engaging topic, more engaging aspects of it. We interact with them one-on-one. So each session is different. And one thing that I always try to stress to the boys after and before each session is that we don't want you to feel like this is a classroom setting, right? We don't want you to be sitting there like, oh, you got to break out a pen and pad and you're taking notes. I really want you to understand that all we are is bridge builders, right?
Right.
We are spanning the tide from the older generation to the younger generation. Is all we're trying to stress to these boys is that we've seen some of the things that you're going to come into. We've met some of the obstacles that you will most definitely meet being a young black man living in America. So all we're doing is giving you the tools to better equip you to meet these obstacles, so you can overcome these obstacles and achieve any type of level of success. And we always tell the boys that when you get there, right? When you feel that you have reached one of your goals or attained some level of success, that the way you pay us back is to pay it forward, right? You go back and you interact with the people that come from your community that look like you, and interact with them on the same level that we interacted with you on, so you can then be that bridge builder for them. And that's what we want these boys to take away from each and every session, each and every year.
And brothers, I've been with you, with both of you, and you both have the enthusiasm that bar none, some of the highest, some of the greatest, especially this brother over here with those boys. Let me ask you this: how important do you feel this program is to those boys in attendance? How important?
Highly important. I cannot stress this enough. One thing you have to understand is some of these boys, that's all they look for throughout the week. That's all they look towards throughout the week is this session. Is a lot of them, I think, struggle socially within the school environment, and I think with this session it allows them to be themselves. It allows them to be expressive. It allows them to communicate in a lot of ways they normally don't get to when they're in the classroom or where they're amongst their peers, because they're talking to not only are they they're engaging with us, but I think they find that a lot of topics and things that we cover are sometimes things that can be uncomfortable, but they feel like it's something that's necessary. They have been trying to figure out ways to either overcome those challenges, and we're here to say you're not going through these by yourselves. We've been there, done that, but this is the an essential avenue for you to take. So I think it's important for them, is because a lot of them, I think, at this age, at this time, growing up, at least in their lives, feel like they need somebody sometimes to push them, somebody to encourage them, somebody to guide them, sometimes just somebody to give them advice. And I think they see this, as Brother Bird said, as basically as us being bridge builders. You know, they're allowing this process to become pivotal in the reshapement of who they turn out to be in a couple of years. You know, so this program, you know, does a lot, because we've had boys who've come back, you know, after their freshman year in college, sophomore year in college, and come back to talk to, you know, the mentees to say, hey, listen, when I started off, and, you know, Brother Bird can attest to this, we've had boys that have come back and say, listen, when I first started off, I was a freshman, I was a knucklehead, I didn't want to go to class, I didn't see the importance of this program, but I'm a freshman in college, I got a 3.7 GPA, and it's I think for us, that is probably the most gratifying thing we can experience, is when you have somebody that's an alumni to come back to say, you know what, guys, I appreciate what you guys did with this program. This is what I'm doing right now, and if I didn't have this to guide me, if I didn't have you guys to push us and to kick us and to have us refocus on our grades, you know, we might not have chosen this path where we're a little bit more tunnel focused in terms of what we want to do. So I think that it's very imperative to all of them when they see boys who come back and say, you know what, that can be me in a year or two.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really important, at least from my perspective, just from what I've noticed, what I've observed.
And when we see those boys come back with 3.7, and the next year they come back wearing our symbols, that to us,
Yeah, absolutely. I was waiting for somebody else to say that.
Well, but I
was waiting for
okay. Brother Bird, if a program like Manhood 101 existed when you were in high school, what type of difference would it have made in your life today?
Oh man, that's the point that I was going to make when Namdi was speaking. We have men that come to speak to these boys that might not even be members of our fraternity, but come from all walks of life. And one of the things they always say is, man, I wish I had a program like this when I was growing up. Because like I said, it's not your typical mentoring program where we, you know, just telling the guys the basics of stand up straight, you know, how to tie a tie. The Lambda Gamma chapter of Omega Psi Phi, we provide over $40,000 in college scholarships to deserving high school students in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area every year. This is annually that we do this, and the boys in the Manhood 101 program have been recipients of those scholarship awards, right? So, I mean, if I had the opportunity to be in a program like this when I was in school, one thing is I wouldn't have all these student loans that I got right now, right? But but the other thing is, man, I mean, coming from where I come from and knowing my family dynamic, it was really like my father was really like the only positive male role model that I had in my life at one time, right? And I think it does. I think it does wonders for these boys' confidence to be able to look at somebody that comes from where they come from, that looks how they look, and, you know, stand in front of them as a success story, because, you know, that's just a confidence builder for them, right? To be able to look at somebody and like, these are like my goals personified, and they can say, I want that for myself, you know? And I think if a program like this was around during the time that I was in high school, man, it would have changed my life drastically, man.
Let me ask each of you, as they said, what is that one shining moment that you can say that you have in this program? That one shining moment.
Oh man, you want to go? Or? I got a couple.
You go. I just need one. We just need one.
All right. Wow. The very first. Okay. I'll go with the first time. The very first time that the program kind of had me in awe was a student that we called freshman. We called him freshman the entire time he was in the program, even though he was in the program from his freshman year to his senior year. His name was Cameron, but we called him the freshman the entire time. And I always tell the boys, I give them my personal cell phone number, and I tell if you just need to talk about anything, if you need to, you know, talk to me about anything, I don't care what time it is, you know, give me a call, shoot me a text message, and I'll try to reach back out to you, man. But it was Father's Day one year, and I don't have any kids of my own. And the kid that we refer to as freshman called me on Father's Day, and wished me a happy Father's Day because he said he never really had a steady father figure in his life, and he viewed me in that regard. And I had to tell him I would call him back, right? Because I was getting choked up on the phone, right? So I was like, you know, once I composed myself, I called him back, man, and I told him, man, that nobody's ever said anything like that to me, man. And I couldn't, you know, take credit for that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, little brother, all I'm doing is trying to be an example for you, and all I'm doing is standing on shoulders of men that came before me. So if you ever get that opportunity, you know, you pay it forward and do the same for somebody else.
Absolutely.
Wow.
One shining moment.
I don't know how to follow up to that. I mean, that's but
Steve.
So yeah, that's deep. So I think I have a couple. I think one that maybe stands out to me is I went out with my family. I think it was I can't remember what. Maybe it was my sister's birth. No, it wasn't. Probably like my It was just, we went out, church, came back, everybody was hungry, went out to eat. And I remember, it was that Oohs and Ahs, the new one on Georgia Avenue. So we sat down, we were being, patient, waiting for our food to come, and the guy that was serving us, he said, you don't remember me, do you? And it's funny because I remember looking at him, but he was like, yeah, I came through Manhood 101. It just goes to show you that, oh, they remember you. I mean, we have so many boys that come through these programs a lot, impressionable, a lot, leave an impression on you, and some of them, it dawns on them later moment. But I remember him saying, he was like, I came through Manhood 101, and, you guys really made a difference. I'm doing my thing now. I'm getting ready to go to school. This is what I'm working on. And he, kind of gave me a rundown of his plans. I remember looking at him, and I was just like, wow. Yeah. Like that feeling is almost like seeing your little brother graduate from school after he's been a pain. But it was just that's how I felt. I was just like, and I remember, telling my sister, I was like, yeah, you see that? I want you to take note. This is what we do.
Right.
But there was just this feeling of wow, like, our boys go, they leave the program, they leave school, and they go on to do great things, and they remember that moment. They remember going through that program, and they remember the things that you said that they may not even remember. Sure. They've probably taken notice. So every word, everything that we say, leaves an impression on these young boys. And now to see them becoming young men, it's a gradual, and it's a it's a humbling experience. It's a humbling process. So I remember that to me, I think stood out. That's a shining moment to me, just for the simple fact that he was able to recollect some of the things that we did, and he was just like, yeah, I remember you. I remember some of those dudes. So
quite a few out there.
Yeah, it is. It was
over 6 years. Absolutely.
Let me remind my audience, you are tuned in to Q's on the Move. Tonight we are highlighting some of the male mentoring program operated by the mighty chapter called Lambda Gamma chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And tonight I have two of the mentors here with me this evening. We're in the 6th year of Manhood 101. So brothers, we have a few minutes. As we wrap up another season of Manhood 101, what are some of the expectations that you want these boys to lead with? Starting with you, Brother Bird.
Well, it kind of varies depending on their grade level. We have several seniors, and I think the average GPA for this year's senior class is something like 3.5, right? Two of our seniors have above a 4.0 on a 4.0 scale. They've surpassed 4.0 because they've already taken college level courses. Those seniors, I try to stress to them, that life is going to come at you real fast once you walk across that high school stage, and obstacles will be many. Once you go on and either go into the workforce or go into college, those are the things that I want to instill in them. The underclassmen that still have some years underneath their belt before they walk across that graduation stage, I want them to remain humble over the summertime. We know how crazy things can get in the Washington D.C. area over the summertime, but try to remember some of those lessons that that we've instilled in them over the school year. And we don't just leave these boys by the wayside for the summer months. We have several different youth activities that the chapter sponsors throughout the summer. So we still interact with the boys on a regular basis. But the overall thing that I expect from the program is for it to grow. We've grown every year. Early in its inception, just to give a quick background of the Manhood 101 program, Principal Gorman Brown, who's also a member of the Lambda Gamma Gamma chapter, made it mandatory for a lot of the boys to attend the program. These are the boys that were, on the cusp of getting expelled from the program, or getting expelled from school, or had subpar GPAs, and he made it mandatory for those boys to attend the program. And each and every year, we've had students who weren't required to come to the program have interest in it, and the numbers have grown every year to the point where in the third or fourth year of the program, it was no longer mandatory to have, no longer required to have students that, okay, it's mandatory that you come. Now we have numbers, and all of these students are excelling.
Right.
I expect the program to go. To grow. I tell the underclassmen to make sure when you're in the school, you grab your friend to bring them along every Wednesday at 7 p.m. when we meet in Charles Herbert Flowers, and then we can, as the years progress, we can kind of see the fruits of our labor grow out here in the D.C. area.
Well, those are pretty high expectations.
It is. Yeah.
And again, I think both of you brothers will be attending the Steve Harvey Mentoring Camp this year.
Absolutely.
I know you've been there before, but this is your first year going down there.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations, because it is a selection process.
Thank you.
And it's a great honor to be on a ranch with Brother Steve Harvey and to mentor 200 boys. What are your expectations of this camp? And I know you heard a lot about it, but what are your expectations of it?
Oh, well, you're right. I was able to, to kind of witness some of the experiences that they endured from last year. So I felt bad that I missed out on this. So I'm expecting, great energy. I'm expecting enthusiasm because we want them to understand that this is a privilege. This is not just a pat on the back for being okay. You got to see average, so you can. No, we want them to understand that life is about earned rewards. Sure. It's not. Everything is not all about having a participation trophy. So if you make it to this camp, we want to see your best. We want to see your participation. We want to know that you walked away from that and you have learned something, and you have something that you can take with you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
That is the whole purpose of this camp. So I'm expecting to see them, more engaged than they normally, are with Manhood 101, because I want them to understand how big this opportunity is for them. This is something that they can say, when you applying to universities for the following year, you can say, hey, I went to the Steve Harvey camp, right. Where I learned to apply myself, and I feel like I'm a better leader. So those are some of the things that, we want them to understand, that this is something that, that you not only you can apply to whatever it is that you want to be in future, but this is something that you can share with your fellow peers. So I'm just glad that Steve Harvey is, a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. But not only that, but I'm just glad for men like him, men like you, Brother Blue, men like, Brother Gorman Brown, who's the principal of Charles Flowers High School, for kind of setting this platform for allowing these boys to kind of thrive. Because a lot of times it's not just them. It's about, well, what type of foundation are we setting to allow them to propel to be able to do something, that they can look back on and be proud of. So, I'm just glad to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Brother Bird, we got probably about 1 minute to wrap this up. You've been down to Steve Harvey Mentoring Program. Can you give us your experience of this wonderful camp?
One thing, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. One thing that I took away from the camp is that these boys have just as much of an impact on our lives as we have on theirs. I'll be as brief as possible. I met a young boy that was from the middle of nowhere in Mississippi. Had to deal with racism. He was only 13 years old. In a single parent household, with a younger sister that was 6 years old. His mother was blind and schizophrenic, and his grandmother was 84 years old. This young boy had to be thrust into being the man of the house at 13 years old and expected to focus on school, right? I still interact with that young dude today because and I heard this on a program that I was watching recently, that the world distributes talent evenly, but it doesn't distribute opportunity evenly. And this program is trying to give those kids, because this kid that I interacted with, he was way smarter than me at my age, but I know that some kids fall through the cracks because they aren't afforded the same opportunities as others. And that's the important thing from programs like this, is we try to give those kids who might not be afforded those opportunities to go out and be successful that conduit, right? That path to success. So I mean, and this is just one of 200 boys that was at that camp. So I mean, that's my biggest takeaway. I look forward to working with Brother Steve Harvey again this summer and impacting as many lives as I can.
Well, you heard it live on Q's on the Move. I want to thank Brother Nambi.
Absolutely.
And Brother Bird for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having us.
And tune in next week when Q's on the Move will continue their quest to save the lives of our black boys. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to WBGR World Network.